You all know that I'm a lawyer, but you may not know that lawyers have a thing about teeth. They like the law to have teeth, to fight on problems and make things happen. They want the law to have something relevant to say. So when I put on my deacon hat, I take a little bit of my lawyerly self with me and approach readings with questions about teeth and bite too. I do ask other questions, more theological ones, but I do take my lawyerly self with me. So where are the teeth in Tabitha's story? What does it bite on? How is this reading relevant to me, or you, or our community or world now? Is there something in the story of a good woman who dies, then is brought back to life, that speaks to us as we look forward to visiting home ground next door this morning? I think there is something. I think there are three elements in Tabitha's story which have resonance for us and our relationship with home ground: community, faith, and resurrection. So let's look at community first. Community is a huge part of Tabitha's story. Her resurrection and the path to it is deeply rooted in faith and community. She has lived a life of service to her community. When she dies, her community sends for Peter, asking him to come without delay. Her community clearly believes that their relationship with Peter and Peter's relationship with them is such that he will respond to their request and come. And he does. He returns to Tabitha and Joppa, acknowledging the relationship with her and her community. When Peter arrives, Tabitha's community is there weeping. Peter brings Tabitha back to life and then calls out to the saints and widows of her community, showing her to be alive. Tabitha's restoration to life is significant not just for her as an individual, but for her community. She's been restored to them. So Tabitha's resurrection is all about community. It's a story about her life of giving to community, the community's grief when she dies, the action they take when she dies, and her restoration to them. It's about people who are woven together by relationship, people who rely on each other, call on each other, and find their calls responded to. The story urges us to remember that as Christians, we're called to community, to be in community with each other here at St Matthew's, and with our neighbours, with the City Mission and her people, and with the world. It reminds us that our restoration and healing should also occur in community. It asks us to imagine what community might look like for us, here and now, and how we might make it real. Shifting our focus to faith, faith is also a strong part of Tabitha's story. Since Easter, the readings have focused on faith, what it means to have faith, how hard it is to have faith, think Thomas, and how much we long for evidence and proof that what we believe is real, and how faith can be made real in the world. Faith comes at us from all sides in Tabitha's story. We're told that she is a disciple, so we can be sure she's a woman of faith. And it's worth noting that this is the only time in the New Testament that the feminine of the Greek word for disciple, methetria, is used. I'm a bit of a Greek geek too, which suggests that Tabitha was a significant figure in the Christian community. She's described as a woman devoted to good works and acts of charity. We can reasonably read in a link between her faith and her good works. The disciples' response when Tabitha dies suggests they have faith in the impossible and act on their faith. They know that Tabitha is dead, but they ask Peter to come urgently. They dare to believe that Tabitha's death is not final. They dare to believe that Peter could somehow transform the situation. And then there's Peter's faith. That stands out too. The two men sent to Peter ask him to come to Joppa without delay. And Peter gets up and goes with them. Maybe he knew what was expected of him. Maybe he was worried about what was expected of him. Maybe not. We're not told the details. But he got up and went to Tabitha. So there's a strong thread of faith in the Tabitha story. And then the theme of resurrection. There's something very significant about the path to resurrection that this story gives us. Tabitha dies, the community send for Peter. Peter responds by coming to them. He shuts himself in the room where Tabitha has been laid out and prays. Then he directs Tabitha by name to get up, gives her his hand and helps her up. Then he calls to the community and shows her to be alive. We can hear the echoes in the story of Jesus' raising of Jairus' daughter and his own resurrection. This morning, we're going next door to visit home ground. I don't want to force a parallel between Tabitha's story and the city mission and home ground, but there might be one. Tabitha was devoted to good works and acts of charity, think the mission. She was known by both an Aramaic name, Tabitha, and a Greek name, Dorcas, which suggests that she might have moved between the Hebrew and Greek communities, working across cultures like the mission. She provided practical support to her community. The widows weeping at her death showed the tunics and clothing she had made for them. Parallel with the housing and practical support the mission will provide at home ground, perhaps. And we can think about Tabitha's resurrection in the narrow literal sense of being brought back to life. But I prefer to see it in the broader sense of faith leading to restoration or transformation, of something that has been lost being restored or made new, or being given fresh insight or energy to go on, sometimes in a new direction, but sometimes in the same direction, just deeper and further, a bit like home ground, deeper and further. The story of Tabitha's resurrection speaks to what it means to be resurrected or restored, the hard work and the bounty of faith. It might reveal to us that we too have had a taste or a glimpse of what it means to be raised from the dead, when suffering and loss have opened out into new life for us. Tabitha's resurrection doesn't mean that all our difficulties will be solved. It's still the problem of why our infinitely loving God allows us to suffer. And I'm not going to untangle that knotty problem today, probably never. But given the undeniable existence of suffering, the story of Tabitha points to the possibility of restoration and transformation alongside that suffering. I'm not being glib or Pollyanna-ish about suffering either. It's real and it's awful, and it can drive us to despair. I've had my own taste of it, and you will have had too. The world is full of it. And like us, the mission people have also experienced suffering and loss. We share that with them, and they with us. But Tabitha's resurrection points to the hope of restoration or transformation for all of us. So I'm not trying to brush suffering aside and pretend it's easy to have faith and see the potential for restoration when we're in the grips of suffering. I'm not. But I'm suggesting that the elements of Tabitha's story, faith, community, working together, may point us towards restoration. The mission and home ground's very practical, hands-on work, like Tabitha's work sewing clothes for the widows, is part of that restoration for the many people it serves, part of the biblical story of realising the kingdom of God here on earth, part of making Easter joy real. So finally, there are questions for us, the people of St. Matthew's. How will we be part of the mission's community? How vulnerable are we prepared to be? Are we ready for the hard work? Are we ready for the joy? How will we demonstrate our relevance? How will we have teeth and bite? Amen.